Tired of spending hundreds of dollars for prescription glasses? Zenni offers thousands of affordable eyewear styles, starting at just $6.95. No ridiculous markups, no hassles, just quality, affordable eyewear delivered right to you. Visit Zenni today at zenni.com/CNN. AC360 did not air on CNN today. For this podcast episode, we are bringing you an hour of CNN coverage from earlier in the day. Tired of spending hundreds of dollars for prescription glasses? Our friends at Zenni Optical offer a huge variety of high-quality, stylish frames and state-of-the-art optics starting at just $6.95. You can get multiple frames with this great pricing for less than one pair elsewhere. Start building your eyewear wardrobe from the comfort of your own home at Zenni.com. With the latest trends in eyewear available in hundreds of frame styles and materials, there isn't a better way to change it up for every season. Plus, Zenni offers prescription sunglasses at incredible prices. Visit Zenni today at zenni.com/CNN. That's ZENNI.com/CNN.
Hello and happy New Year's Eve. I'm Ryan Nobles in for Brooke Baldwin. It's 3 o'clock in New York, but it is officially 2019 in Dubai, Oman, and parts of Russia. Live pictures here from Dubai. Looks like a pretty good party there. But when the clock strikes 12 back in the United States, the East Coast will be hit with heavy rain showers. CNN's Jennifer Gray joins me now from the CNN Weather Center. Jennifer, if you're planning on being outside tonight, it's going to be a little warmer, but with a little bit of rain, right?
You're exactly right. Yeah, it's going to be warmer than we reckon the last year, but it is going to be much wetter. And the rain has already made it to New York. It's in D.C. It's in Philly. It'll eventually be in Boston. So a lot of the big cities will experience rain. Unfortunately, and for all of the people in Times Square, now that the rain has begun, it's going to keep on raining all the way until we ring in the new year. So for the next 9 hours, people will be standing in the rain in Times Square. It's also raining in Chicago. That should be wrapped up by the time the clock strikes midnight there. We are getting a line of showers and storms through New Orleans. Once again, that should clear up before we make it to midnight, but we could be socked into the rain across much of the I-95 corridor there. We also have tornado watches and a thunderstorm watch until 8 p.m. Eastern time. The storm watch is through 7 p.m. Eastern time, and so we could get some rough weather on the way as well for folks heading out to celebrate. Here is the timeline. By 7 p.m., we'll be in the rain for the Northeast. D.C. possibly out of it by then, but places like Nashville, Atlanta also getting the rain, and then by midnight, of course, still stuck in the rain across places like New York, Boston, D.C., Atlanta, with temperatures around 48 in New York. Chicago will ring in the new year around 36, Kansas City at 25, Dallas at 46. So New York City, temperature will be 48. It will feel like 45, and we will have steady rain across the Big Apple, Ryan.
All right, Jennifer Gray, thank you for that report. We appreciate it. Now let's go to our team of reporters covering celebrations across the United States and beyond. Randy Kay drew the tough assignment. She is in St. Bart's, and it looks like she has a golf bag behind her. We're gonna get to Randy in a second because we have to go to Miguel first, who's in the pouring rain in Times Square. Randy, Miguel's just slightly mad at you right now. Miguel, it looks like the crowd's there.
Randy Kay, I'll get you.
Miguel, what are the crowds like there right now at Times Square? I mean, we're pretty far away from the ball drop, but it looks like they're already starting to fill in.
Well, it's not St. Bart's, but we are enjoying the purifying celebratory rain that only New York City can bring. It is gorgeous here, and there are already tens of thousands of people who are packed in here. And look at those happy souls over there under plastic. They may be having an issue with too much carbon dioxide in that one bag. I'm a little concerned about those people. But these folks have been packed in here for many, many hours. Why? Because they have front row seats. Those are the good seats, folks, because that's the pole where the ball actually drops at midnight here in Times Square. This is a little sense of the crowd a little closer up now. We have people from all over. You guys ready for this? Happy New Year! Happy New Year! Oh, God, get us to that bend. Japan's represented here. Korea, where are you guys from? The Persians are here. Oh, my God. Kansas City in the house, newlyweds. And Wisconsin, just north of Madison. And these guys are...
All right, we are going to go now, sorry about that, Miguel, to Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is speaking about her presidential bid. Here she is.
In the United States, I never thought I would run for anything ever in my life, but America's middle class is getting hollowed out, and opportunity for too many of our young people is shrinking. So I'm in this fight all the way. Right now, Washington works great for the wealthy and the well-connected. It's just not working for anyone else. But I am optimistic. I believe in what we can do together. I'm going to build a grassroots campaign. It's already got people from all across this country who are going to be part of it, and together we're going to make change. And if people out there see it and want to be part of it, I hope they go to ElizabethWarren.com and join us, because this is how we're going to build the movement that will change America. So thank you all for being here. You have a question?
You know the urgency that a lot of Democrats feel about defeating Donald Trump in 2020. What's your message to the Democratic primary voter who says, I love where Senator Warren stands on the issues, but I worry about electability. I worry about a campaign more about Native American ancestry than the middle class?
You know, look, I'm in this fight because I understand what's happening to working families. I grew up in a paycheck-to-paycheck family, and my big chance was a commuter college that cost $50 a semester. I run for office because I'm grateful down to my toes for the opportunities that were given to me, and I am determined that we will give those same opportunities, not just to some of our kids, but to all of our kids. I think when we fight for something positive, for something big, when we show, not just tell, but show what Democrats will get out there and make happen, I think that's how we win.
Senator Warren, do you think your politics are too polarizing for a national audience?
You know, look, the way I see it right now, Washington works great for giant drug companies, but just not for people who are trying to get a prescription filled. Washington works great for for-profit colleges and student loan outfits, but not for young people who are getting crushed by student loan debt. And you could keep going through the list. The problem we've got right now in Washington is that it works great for those who've got money to buy influence. And I'm fighting against that, and you bet it's going to make a lot of people unhappy. But at the end of the day, I don't go to Washington to work for them. Our government should be working for the people, and that's the movement I'm going to lead.
Senator, you articulated this very point throughout the course of your career, and you saw a real estate developer from New York expropriate that message in 2016. How do you basically convince people that this message is still a message that belongs to the Democratic Party, given that it's been expropriated and used effectively by a real estate developer?
We have to get out there and be clear about what we're fighting for, and then we got to show we're willing to fight for it. It's not enough just to talk the talk. We've actually got to be willing to get out and walk the walk. And that means we've got to stand behind the kinds of changes that will matter in the lives of everyday people. And when that means standing up to big drug companies, we won't do what this administration has done, and that is said, raise prices whenever you want. We'll say we're going to make real change.
Follow up. How does your message compare to that of Sherrod Brown, for example, and others who are making some of the same points?
You know, I think it's great that we have a strong and growing group of Democrats who are making these arguments, who are fighting these fights. That's how we build a movement. We do it together.
Senator Warren, you have not been afraid to take on Donald Trump really head-to-head in the past. Do you expect that you will need to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with him and hurl it right back at him, as you know he has already started to do with you? Is that part of winning this?
Look, I think the central part of winning this is to get out and talk with people about what we're fighting for. We want a government that works not just for the rich and the powerful. We want a government that works for everyone. And we can make that happen. We have to do it together. I think that's how we win.
All right, we are going to break away from this. Elizabeth Warren, who today announced that she's forming an exploratory committee to run for president of the United States, speaking to reporters for the first time since that happened. Harry Enton joins me now, senior political writer and analyst for CNN. Harry, I'm not surprised, but impressed that she didn't just come out and make a blanket statement, but actually answering questions from reporters. I don't know how much she's answering them in specificity.
Sure.
But, this, I think, demonstrates that she's taking this seriously and that she's ready to get her foot out there and take that first step.
I mean, she's definitely taking it seriously, and the fact that she was really the first of the major candidates to put her foot into the ring, I think, suggests that she recognizes that she's going to have to work hard for this nomination, just as any other candidate will. But it was very interesting to me to hear the questions and her responses to them on the questions of electability, as well as on the question of she's not going to be the only progressive voice in this campaign.
Right.
Bernie Sanders, Sherrod Brown are most likely to get into this race, and how is she going to separate herself from them in order to win the nomination?
It's interesting. I've heard a lot of Democrats answer very similarly along the same lines that she did by saying, the more the merrier. Let's get more voices out there who think in similar ways that I do. The more of us talking about it, the better that is for the country. At some point, though, you've got to draw some lines of distinction between you and these other candidates, right?
Absolutely. I mean, keep in mind, it's still December 31st, right? We haven't even gotten into 2019. But as we get closer to 2020, I think you will see those progressive voices start to go at each other. But at this point, I think they're just happy to be in the race and want to see, before they go negative, can they make a step going positive?
Okay. Harry Enton, thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Hear this latest from Elizabeth Warren. Harry, you're very interesting, but you're not nearly as interesting as this next person that we're going to go to, or where she happens to be, and that is our Randy Kay. Randy, basically everyone here in the New York City Bureau is jealous of you. We know Miguel is jealous of you because he's out in the pouring rain. Yeah, explain to us where you are and what is going on in St. Bart's and how they're going to ring in the new year.
Well, I am in St. Bart's, and I am at Gustavia, which is the main port here. And this is really a billionaire's playground, because this is where everybody comes for New Year's Eve. But as you remember, Ryan, last year there was 170-mile-an-hour winds here from Hurricane Irma, destroyed much of St. Bart's. There was more than $1 billion worth of damage, but you can see that they have rebuilt. And if you take a look at this scene here behind me, these are all multi hundreds of $1 million yachts. It's incredible here, just absolutely incredible as we pan around. These are owned by mainly billionaires. They come to here for the New Year's Eve celebration. It's a huge party. A lot of celebrities are here. Paul McCartney's here. Mariah Carey is performing tonight. But we are on a yacht called the Gene Machine, thanks to Super Yacht St. Bart's and Gene Machine for hosting us. And let me just tell you about this yacht. It's 180 feet long. It has jet skis here. I'm not sure if you can see. It has a jacuzzi. It has a swimming area in the back, the jacuzzi, and then it also has a rope that you can climb up the side with for fun. It has a water slide that you can go out. They put it out in the water when they're not tethered here in port, and you can go down the water slide. It also has what I'm standing on here, a golf green. Can you believe it? Right here. So I'm no golfer, but just for kicks, and so everybody can have a good laugh at me, I am going to give it my best. Now, there's some boat traffic, so, we're going to yell we're going to make sure that I don't hit anybody. But let's see, okay? Ryan, I don't know if you're a golfer, but I'm going to try my best here. Hold on, we got a boater going by. Stand by. One moment. It's busy. It's a busy time here, so lots of traffic. But we're going to be on this yacht tonight for the big New Year's Eve show at 8 o'clock, and starting at 8 p.m. Okay, here we go. Oh, did you see that? It was perfect. I know you didn't follow it out. We're going to do one more before I let you go here.
All right.
There's a green out there. You see that? There's a green. I'm going to try and hit that before any other boats come by. You ready? Here we go. We're going to try it. One more.
All right.
Oh!
Very
I got about halfway there. Anyway, we're going to have a great party tonight. So much fun. I hope you'll join us from sunny St. Bart's.
All right. Randy Kay definitely drew the short straw for CNN today. Excellent swing, Randy. We're all very impressed back here in New York. Thank you, Randy. Still ahead, comedian Louis C.K. walks into yet another controversy by mocking the students who survived the Parkland shooting in his routine. You'll hear the tape for yourself. But first, here's a look at more of Dubai's spectacular New Year's Eve show. Look at that. Unbelievable. That's from just moments ago.
Remember, to create an ad like this one, visit purewinning.com/CNN.
Congressional Democrats say that President Trump's plan to build a border wall is going nowhere, and it appears John Kelly may agree with them. In an LA Times interview, Trump's outgoing chief of staff says the White House gave up on the idea of a concrete wall. His words, early on, after talking to those on the ground. Kelly added that despite the president's claims to the contrary, quote, to be honest, it's not a wall. As you might expect, the president is pushing back, tweeting, quote, an all-concrete wall was never abandoned. Joining me now is Ben Ferguson. He's a conservative talk radio host and CNN political commentator. And Nina Turner, who's the president of Our Revolution and a CNN political commentator. So, Ben, I think the best way to describe this is mixed messaging on behalf of the president, which is not uncustomary from this White House. But this particular issue is the president's signature campaign issue. He talked over and over again, first about a concrete wall, and then secondly, that Mexico was going to pay for it. Now we're talking about steel slats or some version of that and taxpayers paying for it. I mean, explain this kind of changing position from the president.
Look, I think when the president on the campaign talked about Mexico paying for the wall, he actually believed that he was going to be able to get that done. In reality, he has to deal with Congress. And you've seen what Congress, how hard they've been to deal with. And so the president understood, I think, after getting to Washington, becoming the president, that the reality of us being able to get Mexico to pay for it was probably not going to happen. And that's the reason why the American people that voted for him said, Mr. President, we're fine with us paying for this. We don't have an issue with it. That's why the president's dropped it. But others have used that as a talking point against him. I would go back to this. The president's been consistent. We need border security. In fact, 54 Democrats in the Senate just 5 years ago voted in favor of spending a significant amount of money on border security, including border wall or slats, whatever you want to call it. And now they're saying no to it. And it's only because Donald Trump wants it so badly. So do a lot of the American people, though, and that's where I think they're messing up.
But, Ben, it seems as though, even in this conversation, you're moving the goalposts here a little bit. Donald Trump came in as the great deal maker. He had Republicans in both the Senate and the House. Aren't you giving him kind of a big out here by saying that Congress has been too difficult to deal with for him to deliver on his signature campaign issue when he promised that he was the great deal maker that could get these things done?
Again, I would point to the 54 Democrats just 5 years ago that voted in favor of more than $40 million in funding to build border security and the border wall. And now, because of Donald Trump being president, they're saying, no, you got to have the 60 votes in the Senate to do a deal. And the president has been advocating for this for the last 2+ years. And when you don't have the votes because Democrats refuse to do what's right for border security, that's the reason why we have the government shut down in the position we're in right now. The president understands this is an issue of national security. It's an issue of protecting American workers and wages, and it's an issue of making sure that people come into this country the legal, lawful way. You look at the police officer that was killed in California. He came to America, by the way, as an immigrant legally into this country, and an illegal immigrant who did not follow our rules was able to kill him right around Christmas. So this is an issue the president's gone all in on. I think he's been very consistent about that. And unfortunately, you've got politics
conversation here. Or just one person.
No, Nina, I'm about to get to you.
I'd love for you to come in, Nina. Come on in.
So the president has been. He said Mexico was going to pay for the wall. That was not ever going to happen because no president of the United States of America can dictate how another country is going to spend their money. That's number one. Number two is securing this country is a holistic conversation that is bigger than just a wall and bigger than just scapegoating
I would agree with you on that.
One group of people just on the southern border. In terms of a police officer being shot,
it's not one group of people.
Ben, let Nina talk.
Hello, Ben. You had all this time. Let a sister get in here. In terms of a police officer being shot, all of our hearts should ache. My son is in law enforcement right now, took the oath to protect and to serve. My husband is a former police officer, so I get it on both ends, both on the protection side and also being a black woman who's the mother of a black son. So everybody in this country should be upset when police officers are gunned down. But let us not scapegoat. People have bad behavior, whether they're American-born citizens. Look at what Dylan Roof did to black parishioners at a church, Mother Emanuel. So there are bad people, whether they're immigrants or not. And so native-born folks can be bad and do horrendous things too. What we should not do, though, however, is scapegoat an entire group of people just because they are bad actors across the spectrum, whether they're white, black, brown, yellow, or red. Human nature can be extremely unpredictable.
So, Nina, then what is the path forward? Ben, hang on.
Yeah.
Nina, what's the path forward here? How do Democrats handle this situation now? They've got a president that's unwilling to deal on that front. They're going to take control of the House here in a couple of days. If you're advising the Democratic caucus in the House, how do you see a way forward that can accomplish your goals, but at the same time get this government back open?
Well, Ryan, that's it. We got to open the government. So we need grown folks to get together around the table and determine first things first. 800,000 employees of the federal government right now who are in flux, who need to pay their mortgages or their rent. They need to eat, and they have families to take care of. That should be their first, second, third, fourth, and fifth concern. Secondly, do a deal. We need comprehensive immigration reform, and hopefully Ben would agree with that. That's long overdue. That this Congress,
Amen.
for several Congresses and also presidential administrations, have not addressed comprehensive immigration reform in this country. We need to help our DACA recipients. So there's so much that we should be able to come together to do. But the first concern, Ryan, is to make sure that those 800,000 people who serve this country in a different way are not left in waiting and not knowing how they're going to pay their bills or where their next meal is going to come from.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Ben Ferguson, Nina Turner. Sorry, Ben, we've got to go. A lot to cover today. We appreciate you both being here, and Happy New Year. Thanks for being on.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Next, day 10 and counting. We're live at the White House with the latest on the government shutdown and what Democrats plan to do as soon as they take power.
You remember the Black Dahlia murder?
January 28th. Don't miss TNT's new limited series, I Am the Night.
So you got a case, 10, 15 years old.
Starring Chris Pine.
And this girl knows all about it.
Inspired by a true story of one girl at the heart of Hollywood's most notorious murder.
I'll blow this thing wide open. This girl, she's the key.
The new limited series, I Am the Night. January 28th at 9 on TNT.
Today is the last day on the job for Defense Secretary Jim Mattis. This morning, he sent a farewell letter to the Department of Defense employees that some may also say could be a message to President Trump. Secretary Mattis announced his resignation because of the president's decision to withdraw troops from Syria. But over the weekend, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said that President Trump is now reevaluating such a rapid drawdown. CNN Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr joins me now. Barbara, tell us more about this Mattis farewell message for the DOD.
Hi, Ryan. Well, it does come as, you know, now the new incoming acting secretary, Patrick Shanahan, his first job may be to figure out what Mr. Trump really wants to do about withdrawing troops from Syria. Is it on pause? Is it happening rapidly? Nobody really seems to know as he begins his tenure actually tomorrow. Mattis left the building earlier today. We're not sure if he's going to even come back at this point. And he left behind a message to the troops, which has just perhaps a little bit of a dig at President Trump's tendency towards isolationism. Let me read part of it to you. The secretary saying, "Our department's leadership, civilian and military, remains in the best possible hands. Our department is proven to be at its best when the times are most difficult. So keep the faith in our country and hold fast alongside our allies, allied against our foes." Alongside our allies. That is Secretary James Mattis in his final hours in office, once again endorsing alliances and coalitions. He believes very strongly that is essential to U.S. national security. Ryan?
All right, and as Jim Mattis leaves this post today, Barbara, I want to ask you about a tweet that just came out from the United States military. This is from U.S. Strategic Command. It says, Times Square tradition rings in the new year by dropping the big ball. If ever needed, we are ready to drop something much, much bigger. Barbara, it was accompanied by a video of a B-2 bomber. You know more about this than I do, but this seems unusual, is it not?
You know, the world, I think it is very safe to say, is hoping for a very peaceful New Year's Eve, and this message may have struck a very odd chord. Look at that video. That's a B-2 bomber tweeted by the U.S. military, test test dropping some of its newest, most advanced precision-heavy weapons. The U.S. Strategic Command, Ryan, of course, in charge of control of America's nuclear weapons and telling the world that it is ready to drop its weapons if it needs to. So, of course, everybody knows that. Everybody knows the U.S. military is ready at all times. America's adversaries know that. So why would you tweet this again when the world is hoping for a very peaceful, calm, celebratory New Year's Eve in the coming hours? It's already New Year's overseas. It may be striking a very peculiar note. Ryan?
Yeah, peculiar may be the perfect word to describe that, Barbara. I can't come up with another one, at least at the moment. Barbara, Happy New Year. Thank you for being here.
Happy New Year.
First, it was Me Too. Now it's Never Again. Louis C.K. trying to make a comedy comeback, but he's getting major backlash for joking about the Parkland school shooting. Hear how one of the survivors is responding.
I'm Andy Katz from March Madness 365, and on this edition of our podcast, I'll be joined by Nevada's Eric Musselman.
You look at a guy like Trey Thurman, right now he's one of our most valuable pieces. He guards really good up-front players on the opposing team. He doesn't care if he takes a shot. He's a great screen setter for us, does all the dirty work, rebounds the ball. And so from a role standpoint, guys have really started to accept what we need.
Listen and subscribe to March Madness 365 today at Apple Podcasts and MarchMadness.com.
This is a pretty big story trending today. Survivors of the Parkland school shooting coming out swinging at Louis C.K. after the comedian mocked their activism in his routine. Take a listen to this leaked audio from the set performed in December, and we should warn you, it may be offensive.
They testify in front of Congress, these kids? What are you doing? You're young. You should be crazy. You should be unhinged. Not in a suit saying, I'm here to tell you. You're not interesting. Because you went to a high school where kids got shot? Why does that mean I have to listen to you? How does that make you interesting? You didn't get shot. You pushed some fat kid in the way. I mean, now I got to listen to you talking?
So there's a pretty strong reaction to this. One survivor of the Parkland shooting tweeting this in response. Louis C.K., although taking Jell-O shots and eating mushrooms might have been a big deal when you were 18, that is not the luxury that we have after having seen our friends and classmates in caskets because of preventable gun violence. And joining me now to try and put this all in perspective, and it's not an easy topic to do so, but we've brought Dean Obeidallah in, who has his own Sirius XM radio show. He's, of course, a stand-up comedian, so you kind of understand kind of the fine line here. And, you know, to be clear, Dean, you are not endorsing what Louis C.K. had to say in any way, but explain to me the kind of interesting place he finds himself in.
I want to walk gingerly here because I want to keep my radio show when I leave the set here.
Right.
The reality is, look, from a comedic point of view, comedians have to have freedom of expression. They even have to have the freedom to offend. That, of course, does not mean the freedom from criticism. If you don't like a comedian's jokes, speak out. The response on Twitter today and social media against Louis' jokes was palpable. I mean, the emotion from the survivors was stunning, and it was heartbreaking to see it. So I don't agree with the jokes. Louis can defend his own jokes. Very smart guy, very funny guy. But when you're a celebrity and you're under the glare of the spotlight, you should know that if you're going to do a joke like this, there's going to be a backlash. And there should be. People, if you don't like a comedian's jokes, change the channel. Don't support them. Speak out. But to me, the way that if you don't like someone's speech, be comedy or speech, is more speech. Some on Twitter literally want to silence the guy. To me, that's that goes beyond the line. The people get offended on the left and the right, the jokes. Silencing comedians because they're talking about topics of the day, even if it's upsetting, is the wrong response.
Well, here's what another comedian, Judd Apatow, had to say about it. He said, quote, "This hacky, unfunny, shallow routine is just a symptom of how people are afraid to feel empathy. It's much easier to laugh at our most vulnerable than to look at their pain directly and show them love and concern. Louis C.K. is all fear and bitterness now. He can't look inward." Is this fair from Judd Apatow? Is he separating, or is he combining Louis C.K. the human being with Louis C.K. the character on stage? I mean, how would you respond to what he had to say?
He might be. I mean, Judd on Twitter has been really outspoken on issues of showing a lot of empathy and compassion on various issues. So I have a great deal of respect for Judd Apatow here. I think from a comedic point of view, we have to worry about self-censorship by comedians that go beyond just a bad joke, goes to the point of actually not doing comedy anymore, not pushing the envelope.
Right. And, of course, the big problem here for Louis C.K. is it's not just these jokes, right?
Sure.
It's got more to do with everything that's been in his past and everything along those lines. All right, Dean, thank you for your perspective. We appreciate you being here. All right, let's get a live look now at the Dow in the final day of trading of 2018. It's better than in the red. It is in the green, up about 200 points. Still going to end up being the worst year for the markets in a decade. We will be right back.
Good day, Sweet World. Jay Skeets here from the Starters, and basketball is back. Join me, Tass, Lee, and Trey at 6 Eastern every weeknight on NBA TV as we break down everything that matters to NBA fans, from trade rumors to Twitter beefs. And don't forget to check out our podcast, The Drop, now dropping twice a week every Tuesday and Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and NBA.com/thestarters. Until then, embrace the day, people.
Social activism hashtags, a missile alert mishap, and viral videos of everyday racism. CNN's Brooke Baldwin takes a look back at the top trending stories of 2018.
"2018 was the year of the social media activist, people across the country speaking out against sexual assault, gun violence, and racism. Hashtag activism proved it's a force to be reckoned with. Here are our top 8 trending stories of the year. Time's Up in 2018. On January 1st, a group of women in the film industry unveiled Time's Up as an anti-harassment action plan, a sequel to last year's Me Too reckoning.
We're just pushing the movement along and doing what we can with our voices and our solidarity.
We are here standing in solidarity with women everywhere. We're saying time's up, enough is enough on sexual harassment, assault, abuse of power.
The group created a legal defense fund to support women who encounter sexual assault, harassment, or inequality in the workplace, especially those outside the entertainment industry who lack financial or legal resources.
And now that we've all joined as one voice, it feels like empowerment to those women who never had it.
Number 7.
Laurel.
Yanni. Do you hear Yanni? Do you hear Laurel? Similar to 2015's Great Dress Debate, a computerized recording of two seemingly unrelated words divided the internet again in 2018.
It says Laurel. It literally says, play it. Hold on. Okay. Yanni. No.
And it seemed everyone had an opinion, from law enforcement.
What we've determined right now is that the audio sound that you've been hearing is actually the name Laurel.
To Capitol Hill.
It is Laurel and not Yanni, all right? Come on. How many Laurel fans here, huh? Yeah, right? Okay. Thank you.
In the end, science called a winner.
If you heard Laurel, you are correct.
And like the dress, Yanni or Laurel served as further proof it doesn't take much to break the internet. Number 6.
About this amazing case of Spider-Man, as he's been dubbed.
He was a young migrant from Mali living in the shadows. But in the span of 30 seconds, Mamadou Gassama's selfless act of bravery captivated the world. Gassama scaled a 4-story building in Paris with his bare hands to save a child's life. For his heroism, French President Emmanuel Macron granted him citizenship. Gassama now works with the Paris Fire Brigade. Number 5, a deep sigh of relief after 38 agonizing minutes. With nuclear tensions between North Korea and the United States running high, people in Hawaii got this text. Ballistic missile threat inbound to Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. An emergency alert that sent panicked families to seek shelter anywhere they could, with some even putting their children in storm drains. Within 12 minutes, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard tweeted that this was a false alarm. But there was no word from the governor, who admitted he'd forgotten his Twitter password.
What happened today was totally unacceptable.
It took 38 minutes for the emergency alert system to declare a false alarm. Number 4, a different kind of activism rocked the internet when dozens of viral videos exposed everyday racism aimed at African Americans. Barbecue Becky, Permit Patty, Pool Patrol Paula. These women got the mean treatment after they called police on black people doing everyday things in public places. Even Starbucks got its share of social media scorn after 2 black men were arrested for waiting at a store in Philadelphia. Starbucks later apologized for the incident and launched employee anti-bias training. Number 3, Professor Christine Blasey Ford publicly recounting her alleged sexual assault.
It's hard for me to breathe, and I thought that Brett was accidentally going to kill me.
Ford accused then Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh of assaulting her when they were just teenagers, an accusation he repeatedly denied. President Trump mocked Ford's testimony during a campaign rally.
How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know.
In a series of tweets, Trump claimed that if the attack Ford alleged, quote, was as bad as she says, charges would have been immediately filed with local law enforcement authorities. The hashtags We Believe Dr. Ford, Believe Survivors, and Dear Professor Ford started trending as hundreds of thousands of women took to social media to express their solidarity. And using the hashtag Why I Didn't Report, countless more spoke of feeling ashamed and powerless after their own sexual assault experiences, of no one believing them. Number 2, in Parkland, Florida, the students of Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School turned the worst day of their lives into a political movement.
We can say, yes, we're going to do all these things, thoughts and prayers. What we need more than that is action.
Students created the Never Again movement to prevent gun violence and help organize the March for Our Lives in Washington, D.C., which became the most tweeted about movement of all of 2018. More than $2.5 million was raised for March for Our Lives via Facebook fundraisers. Even President Barack Obama's inspirational tweet about the march became the second most liked tweet of the year. And number 1, never before has a president used social media quite like this, communicating directly with more than his 57 million followers. From antagonistic tweets about world leaders and political foes to trafficking in half-truths, @Real Donald Trump helps set the tone for the day's news coverage and political discourse. Whether he's blasting what he calls the rigged witch hunt of the Mueller investigation, calling the media fake news, or heaping praise on allies and supporters, the president tweeted and retweeted more than 3,000 times in 2018 and is the most tweeted about political figure of the year.
Make America great again.
Happy New Year. That's it for us. The lead starts right now.
Hey, Sekou Smith here from the Hang Time Podcast. Join me and my main man, John Schumann, every week as we break down the latest NBA news and storylines with guests from around the league. Be sure to subscribe to NBA Hang Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and NBA.com/podcast for new episodes every Monday and Thursday this season.